all of a sudden I started becoming allergic to foods.
Why are there growing allergies in specific people, yet in somebody else, they don't have a problem? She eliminated the almond, and 48 hours later was reporting that her mast cell symptoms are completely gone.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight on Autoimmune Table Talk Live. I'm your co-host, Anne Emanuel, alongside the one and only Dr. Maggie Yu, drinking her mug of something delicious.
It says boss lady right there.
And is how appropriate. What's going on, Maggie?
I'm going to hold this like a beer mug. I'm doing great. And I think for those of you that are new to us and watching this for the first time, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, a huge community. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a follow. And please subscribe to our channel so you get notified every time we go live.
I was sharing with you that all of a sudden through my autoimmunity, I started becoming allergic to foods, unable to eat things like nuts. And I know you've had your own challenge with certain nuts.
Yes. I've never been allergic to nuts in my life. And it was in my 40s that I suddenly developed a severe life-threatening reaction to cashews. And I'd never had that happen before. And I'm testing negative for cashews, you guys. So I see this. And then later on in my later 40s, became for me, I am a big clams bivalve lover, which means like the clams, your oysters, your mussels. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I have, and in my late 40s, I started to become allergic to them as well. And people are like, why are there growing allergies in specific people, yet in somebody else, they don't have a problem? And I think that people want to know why. Somebody said, I have this problem with eggs. They eat eggs 1 week, no problem. The next eggs, they die from it. So I actually teach this in the program, and it's a much bigger issue, which is, what does food sensitivities really have to do with mast cell activation? As I alluded to, number one, you can react many different ways with different armies or Air Force or Navy of the allergy system. You're just being tested for the Air Force with the IgE, but there's the Navy and the Army sitting here having problems. And the testing for the Navy and the Army is absolutely inadequate. And the allergists who are working in the Air Force says the Navy and the Army doesn't exist. It sure as hell does, because you know it, because their testing says it doesn't exist, but you know it happens. But the problem is they're additive. They add together. So in our program, when I'm teaching the food sensitivity, the FoodMapping module, which is our own process for doing this, so nobody else on earth is teaching this. And people in the program, you tell them this. Okay. So what happens is there's an additive effect, which is that it's what I call the bucket theory, which is that if you have 10 levels to a bucket and you only have symptoms when the bucket reaches level 5 and above, you could be sitting here with a bunch of IgA, IgG type allergies that are like, let's say 2-pointers. And so let's say it was broccoli, sesame, and eggs, right? So we had Colleen or somebody that was talking about eggs, and 1 week, all they had was the eggs. And so it was just 2-pointer, no symptoms. The next week, they decided to eat some broccoli, sesame, unknowing any of them were allergens, but then they happened to have egg added to it that week. Boom, mast cell activation symptom. Booyah, boom.
And then I'm also curious, what if it's more than just food? Is it potentially, maybe you're having eggs, but you're also having some environmental allergy trigger, or maybe you're
that's the additive theory. So what happens is we're in the middle of fire season, let's say wildfire season, and then you add the environmental allergens from the wildfire, the smoke, the chemicals that are in the air, and then that gets your bucket to be at about level 2 or 3 all the time during allergy season. Well, this month you eat eggs and suddenly you have a histamine intolerance reaction. But then a month ago when you ate the egg, no problem. Because these are cumulative and additive. The histamines that are being produced in your body isn't just like, oh, I'm going to just be like one thing at a time. It is, how do you know that it's the broccoli, the sesame, or the egg? And if you knew none of those, then it appears absolutely random and it's going to drive you nuts. And this is why FoodMapping is so crucial, because it really takes into account not just what's going on with IgE, but what are the other items that are underneath this that's adding to this bucket that your doctor has never figured out.
And that's the key. No one else is thinking about all of the other factors.
have to. And I have case after case after case. I'll give you an example. Sherry, who just recently graduated from our program. I mean, she's years dealing with mast cell activation, very disillusioned, very upset, been to tons of doctors, allergist specialists, have had food allergy testing, food sensitivity testing up the wazoo, was convinced that this program wasn't even going to work and was very upset. And until she got her results. When we went over the results, it turned out it was one thing: almond.
Oh, and that's something you probably are adding in.
When she went gluten free.
Mhm.
So then she wondered why it got worse because I'm eliminating all this stuff. I went gluten free. Guess what people replace gluten with? Almond milk, almond flour, almond butter, you name it. And so it was something she was eating every single day in the attempt to eliminate more and more foods. And her diet was extremely limited. She thought it was one of the healthy things I could eat, and it's healthy. She eliminated the almond, and 48 hours later was reporting that her mast cell symptoms are completely gone.
And this is gone. This isn't like I'm a little bit better. No, I'm better. I've been to all of these other specialists for years, probably trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Within 48 hours, it's gone.
Well, and another person, like this is a couple years ago, Chris went through a program. Amy was one of our alumni, and it was a light bulb moment for her. It made a difference for her. She's been 4 years post program without any major reaction. And that goes to about sustainability, right? People are like, oh, maybe this is just the first 48 hours, and then the next 72 hours she's dying. No, this is sustainability, and this is proof. People, you need proof. I mean, she's a nurse and she had to work with this. And not only was she struggling with this, but also pot symptoms as well, which are linked. These are all linked. There is a total scientific basis as to why people are having these symptoms. And we're just talking about one cause right now, which is food mapping. And I really want to clarify to people, food mapping is not your regular food sensitivity testing. And if you think that and you think that that's what this is about, you're dead wrong. Again, and the problem is that you'll have an allergist boo-hooing how bad they say, oh, all those other tests, they aren't real, they're bad. Well, they are bad
Yeah, you've tested them.
because I tried hundreds of these. I've been in this for 27 years. I've been a autoimmune and allergy patient myself for 14 of those years.
And
And
they're
so
expensive. Some of them are very expensive too.
actually, and the most expensive one, which is over $2,000, is the worst test on the planet. And
That's
yet that's the most common food sensitivity test ran in some of the doctor's office because there's some insurance reimbursement, some kickback kind of there going on there. So, so I'm just letting you guys know is that I've kissed a lot of frogs. And I think about I've spent over $1 million over the past 14 years into my own education, testing, and trial, and all this to figure and educational conference and learning to figure all this out. What I teach in our program in 2 months, right? So, do you want to do it in 15 years and $1 million, or do you want to learn in 2 months? How much is that time and effort worth to you, right?
That's an easy choice.
We have literally hundreds of case studies of people with symptoms worse than you, and you can see how they were able to turn it around. Regardless of whether you're interested in working with me or not, do you want those resources? Tell me what's going on with you in chat. And here's an ask: if you know anybody that actually would benefit from this information, I want you to click the video and tag their name underneath it, so that I want to raise awareness around this. Why is it that nobody knows about this? Why the hell doesn't your doctors or anybody suffering with this, any parent out there, why don't they know this? I want them to know. Type their name in the chat, tag them in this video. If you're watching from YouTube, share the link. Give it a thumbs up. This is the only way we can get the algorithm to actually share this video.
And we'll see you next week with more on this.
Big love, everybody.